evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. and serves as the city's policymaking and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rule of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the Chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. By city ordinance, all remarks must be addressed to the City Council as a body and not to any City Council member, including the mayor. The Chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City Government.
Filling in for the mayor this evening, and boy, we have a full house. You did not need to do that just on my account, but thanks for being here. Let's introduce you to your city council.
Council members Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzert.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Selberg.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Staley.
Here.
Okay, I'd like to first introduce Pastor Klerk Thorson from Living World Free Lutheran Church, who will lead us in our invocation. I ask that everyone stand for the invocation and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Thorson.
Well, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the opportunity we have to gather together this evening for business and to discuss the matters of the city. We are reminded too in Scripture that you command us and desire for us to give prayers and intercessions for our governors and our authorities and all that you have placed in authority over us to make decisions for us and with us. And so we pray that you would give them wisdom and discernment. God, we give you thanks for this land in which we live, for the good part of the country that you've allowed us to live in. We give you thanks for the freedoms and the rights that we have as individuals too. We give you thanks for our civil servants and leaders. We pray wisdom for our mayor and for our council members, for unity when possible, for discernment for our council members and leaders, and for those who speak tonight as well. We'd ask your blessing of safety and protection upon those who serve and protect us. We remember those who serve our city in the capacity as police and firemen and women. God, we'd ask your blessing this evening and give you thanks for all the good things that you give us every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Thorson, thank you very much. And thanks for the extra prayers. Yes. I appreciate it. Thanks for Thank you very much. Well, we have a number of proclamations here this evening. In fact, we have 3 to start with, and then we're going to have some awards, too. First evening for awards that Councillor Selberg will be presenting for our superhero. Karen Kreitlow, are you here this evening? If Karen could come forward. Proclamation Women in Construction Week. Okay, and you brought some of your friends. Would you introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. I'm Karen Kreitlow, and I'm with the National Association of Women in Construction, and it's Women in Construction Week.
Great.
I'm Jin Aganyaga. I am president of NAWIC and work at Graybar Electric here in town.
Michelle Tull, owner of Tull Companies, and I am a board member with NAWIC.
Well, very good, and welcome this evening here. And let me read the proclamation. Whereas the Greater Sioux Falls, number 237 of the National Association of Women in Construction has distinguished itself for 41 years as the voice of women in construction in the city of Sioux Falls. Whereas the work done by the Greater Sioux Falls number 237 has benefited the city of Sioux Falls through community development and education programs. Whereas the Greater Sioux Falls number 237 has increasingly promoted the employment and advancement of women in the construction industry. Whereas the construction community, represented by Greater Sioux Falls number 237, has been a driving force in fostering community development through renovation and beautification projects, promotion of skilled trade careers, and a positive vision of the future. Whereas the Greater Sioux Falls number 237 has sought to achieve successful results for the city of Sioux Falls and surrounding areas in a cooperative spirit with other organizations. Now, therefore, I, Rick Kiley, Chairman of the Sioux Falls City Council, on behalf of Mike Huther, do hereby recognize the Greater Sioux Falls number 237 and its many dedicated volunteers for its steadfast work on behalf and support of women in construction, and do proudly proclaim the week of March 4th to 10th, 2018 as Women in Construction Week in Sioux Falls, and encourage our citizens to congratulate the organization on its many accomplishments. Thank you very much. Okay, and our second proclamation, I thought Colleen Moran was going to be up here, but she tells me that there is somebody else here for Spread the Word to end the Word Day. Can we have a representative? And if you can tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is Jonna Toom, and I work at Special Olympics. And annually, we do a program statewide. It's called Spread the Word to End the Word. And the word that we're trying to end is the word retarded. We're trying to educate our kids about respect, to be honest, to be humble, to be kind is our theme this year. And we're in 114 schools throughout the state this year. And we'll reach about 25,000 school-age children to help learn that lesson.
Great, thank you for being here, and this is a great reason to be here as well. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas respectful and inclusive language is essential to the dignity and humanity of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. However, much of society does not recognize the hurtful, dehumanizing, and exclusive effects of the words retard and retarded. Whereas it is time to address the slurs retard and retarded and raise the consciousness of society of the words hurtful effects. Whereas the Spread the Word to End the Word campaign is an ongoing effort by Special Olympics, community groups, organizations, and individuals to raise the consciousness of society about the dehumanizing and hurtful effects of the words retard and retarded. Whereas the campaign created by youth with and without developmental disabilities is intended to engage schools, organizations, and communities to rally and pledge their support. Whereas on March 7th, 2018, residents of the city of Sioux Falls and throughout the United States will lead the annual day of awareness to spread the word to end the word. Whereas the day will be devoted to educating and raising awareness of the positive impact individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities have in our communities and why the use of the R word is hurtful even in casual conversation. Now, therefore, I, Rick Kiley, Chairman of the Sioux Falls City Council, on behalf of Mayor Huther, do hereby proclaim March 7th, 2018 as Spread the Word to End the Word Day in the city of Sioux Falls and encourage all residents to pledge to stop using the R word, helping to make the world a more accepting place for all people. Now, the last proclamation, I've been told that there is nobody here this evening for the Sioux Empire Water Festival Days. Last opportunity if you are. Well, let me read the proclamation. Whereas the Big Sioux Aquifer underlies approximately 1,000 square miles and together with the Big Sioux River provides water to communities in southeastern South Dakota. Whereas providing 2,166 fourth grade children from 100 classes in 41 southeastern South Dakota schools with information about the protection and preservation of water, our most valuable resource, will help children make educated decisions concerning water in the future. Whereas this education is accomplished with the help of 100 plus staff and volunteers from federal, state, county, and city governments and from private businesses. Whereas this is the 25th annual event. Whereas the Sioux Falls City Council recognizes the long-term benefits of this type of education and supports such educational efforts. Now, therefore, I, Rick Kiley, Chairman of the Sioux Falls City Council, on behalf of Mike Huther, do hereby proclaim March 13th and 14th, 2018 as Sioux Empire Water Festival Days in Sioux Falls. With that, I now call Councillor Selberg down for our first set of superhero awards. Councillor Selberg.
Thank you very much. We have the honor of handing out our first Citizen Recognition Awards tonight. It's nice to see that all the recipients made it, and a nice crowd here this evening, too. We're going to have you come up one at a time, and at the end we'll have all five up here and take a quick picture. So, our first recipient is Lori Floyd. Lori, if you want to come up, please. Lori dedicates her time outside of work by giving countless hours to the employer support of the Garden Reserve. The ESGR is a program supported by 3,750 volunteers nationwide, intended to foster a culture in which all employers support and value the employment of the military service of members of the National Guard and Reserve in the United States. It is said that Lori is one that leads by the motto that it is our duty to serve those who serve us. And what better call can there be than that? Congratulations. Up here. Next, we have Tessa Ksivertson. Tessa serves as the office manager in the Minnehaha County Defender's Office and is described as someone willing to go the extra mile for anyone in need. Most recently, an intern in the office found herself unable to afford the gas to see her family in St. Louis over Thanksgiving. Once Tessa became aware of the intern's plight, she went to the nearest ATM and withdrew enough money to compensate her for the trip. There are many other similar examples of Tessa's generosity. She is a quiet leader who doesn't seek attention, but truly epitomizes what it means to be a compassionate leader. Congratulations, Tessa. Claire Halverson. Claire has given 9,000 volunteer hours in 8 years at Sanford's neonatal intensive care unit, rocking the smallest of patients, often 5 nights a week from 9 to midnight. Claire has also actively volunteered for the Furniture Mission, Compassionate Care Hospice, The Banquet, VA, Furniture Mission, and Feeding South Dakota. He is described as someone with a heart for service as he gives of himself to improve the lives of others. Claire Halverson is a superhero that rocks. He literally rocks. Congratulations. Jamie Nelson. In 2012, Jamie Nelson, aka Painmaker, founded Sioux Falls Junior Roller Derby because she saw the need and envisioned the positive impact it would make on youth in our community. Since then, she has dedicated her time and volunteered thousands of hours to bring the exciting sport of roller derby to girls and boys ages 7 to 17 years old, and provide opportunities for skaters of all skill levels to learn and play in a fun, safe, and supportive environment. Coach Painmaker values diversity and recognizes that each child is an individual as well as a team player, and she works to bring out the best in each. She has an unwavering dedication to the kids and the sport of roller derby. Coach Painmaker is a true pioneer and inspiration. Congratulations. I think she has a fan club. All right. That's right. And last but not least, we have Angela Klerk. Angela has been committed to supporting and encouraging a child in our community as a big sister through Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Sioux Empire for over a year. Angela makes sure that her little sister has opportunities for new and fun experiences. She and her little sister not only meet 4 hours per month, but have attended Big Brother Big Sister match activities almost every month since they've been matched. Angela has a cheerful demeanor, and her optimism has a positive effect on the Big Brothers Big Sister staff as well as other matches. Our community is blessed to have Angela as a big sister, setting an example for all of us to follow. Congratulations, Angela. So this is our first class of superheroes. How about one more hand for them quick? And just one thing, by the way, a quick reminder, if you know somebody that you think should be up here winning these awards, go to siouxfalls.org/myhero. Very easy to nominate folks and turn it in. So hopefully we'll see some of you up here soon.
A special thank you to Councillor Selberg. This was his idea to start the Superhero Award, and these are our true public servants that you just saw here this evening, our inaugural class of the Superhero. Let's give them one more round of applause, please. Okay, City Council, we'll let a few people leave the chambers, and thank you for being here this evening. Okay, we'll go ahead and proceed. Are there any changes to the consent agenda?
Move to approve, Night Cert.
Second, Erickson.
Okay, that was motion made by Neitzer and seconded by Erickson. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach, Kiley,
Yes.
Neitzer,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
That passes 7-0. Are there any changes to the regular agenda?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second Erickson.
Okay, that was a motion made by Councillor Rolfing, seconded by Councillor Erickson. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Neitzer,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
And that passed 8-0 as well. Okay, that brings us to our public input portion of our public meeting. And I ask that you, if you have comments regarding a second reading or a resolution that appears on our agenda later in the evening, to please hold your comments until that agenda item is at hand. Comments are limited to 5 minutes, so please come forward and identify yourself, and let's get started.
Hello, my name is Heather Pastor. Is this Mike? I just have a few documents, if I can read this enough time. This has to do with mine and my fiance's situation. I have a note here from the JCLO office. It was sent to me on January 26, 2017. It says in here that, let's see, where am I at? Which is just, let's see. It says here that because of my background and because of my disabilities that I've been treated differently. I've been bullied, physically assaulted, and because of my abilities, me and my fiance and our background, we've been denied housing. I have another note here that was dated on January 12, 2018. This was a note that was directed to my fiance. Says, we looked over your guys' file for the time phrase for the Shelter Plus Care. On 02/01/2006, you were granted another 60 days. I'm not really good with reading. To make a long story short, we lost our Section 8 voucher because of us being blacklisted, because of discrimination, and because we cannot get in nowhere. I have another note that I received from the disabilities right people where they denied me assistance. I still, to this day, am having a hard time with trying to get, like a civil rights attorney, anybody to help me. Because of our situation, we've been coming out of pocket for everything, out of our SSI, and my fiance is working. And I think it's really unfair that certain people get treated differently than other people in this state. Because even Colleen knows about my situation. And I'm getting nothing but doors slammed in my face. Everywhere we go, we get denied assistance. Everywhere we go, we get the doors turned on us. We can't get in no places. I can't get no assistance. I can't get no help. It's always no, 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 no. But other people go to get the same assistance we try to get, and they get help. Because of our situation, we lost our Section 8 voucher. I've been physically assaulted by my old landlord. Matter of fact, the state's attorney put a protection order on my behalf against my old landlord. I've been hospitalized. We lost everything. We come out of pocket for everything, and now we're still living at a motel because we can't get in nowhere, and I can't get no legal help. I don't know what the possibilities are. I really wish that they should start a fund for certain people to get help with, like, civil rights type of stuff, because I can't even get help with nowhere. I get denied for the advocacy people. Colleen actually personally referred me to them. I get denied from the disability rights. I called the state bar. They won't do anything. It's just doors being slammed in my face, and it's all because of my abilities. It's really just, to me, it's wrong that other people get help, but me and my fiance gets doors slammed in our face. World full knows. And all I have is a binder back at home full of documentations proving the discrimination that's been done to me. I've even been discriminated against the Department of Labor. They tell me to go through Southeastern. I told them I had bad experience through Southeastern. So the only thing I have is everything that me and my fiance pay for is out of pocket. My fiance is working now, which is an awesome thing. But everything out of my disability is what comes out of my pocket, and doors being shut in my face. I guess that's all I have to say, and it's a good thing we all got out of the bad weather.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bruce Danielson. It's probably going to be one of my shortest public inputs because there's a lot going on here tonight. But I just wanted to say that it's a shame that 7 of you weren't able to be at the event center at the Icon Lounge this week. They had Charles Marone there from Strong Towns, and it was probably one of the most fantastic presentations we've seen on the issues that Sioux Falls is going to be encountering into the near future. The reason that I've asked Jim to put this information up on the screen is I recorded the event. It's going to be almost 2 hours, but what Charles has been doing around the country is working with towns like Sioux Falls, towns that have already passed their prime, trying to rebuild. Councillor Neitzer was part of the panel. It was great to see him there, and it was just fantastic. I hope you all can go out to the siouxfalls.org or to South Dakota and see the video when we get it up tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
Hello, my name is Nick Weiland. I'm a small business owner downtown, and I also have a financial interest with my family in Icon. We have a few people here tonight that are wanting to express their concerns on what has happened recently. We feel it is not quite in the best interest of downtown to have a decibel reading at 55 be the standard for, it's the standard for downtown, and it's the standard for the rest of Sioux Falls, and we strongly believe that that should change because currently Icon is not able to operate at 55 decibels. I think we all understand how important it is to keep a live, work, play environment down there, and believe that there are some compromises to be made. And I think you're going to hear from some other people tonight, some musicians, some business owners, people that own residential communities. We really want to find a solution here that fits all of our needs. And I thank you all for your service and listening.
Thank you for being here this evening, Nick.
Scott Ersman, Sioux Falls. I was glad to see you guys gave the mayor the night off. We know that he's deserved it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Icon thing and some of the things that I've been listening to. I think it's always kind of funny how we're a real big city when we're counting how many people live here so we can take out as much money on bonds to buy plane palaces, but all of a sudden we're Mayberry when it comes to noise. And if we're going to be a big city, let's be a big city. I think it's a good idea to change decibel readings downtown. One of the reasons why I think it's a good idea is because we're not going to be able to build residential in the railroad redevelopment area because there's 2 train tracks running there. You're going to have some kind of sound barrier or something to build there. Let's face this. This is really simple. Someone, when it moved into a residential residence downtown, and had a patio, and they're wondering why it's noisy. It's a case of someone being naive. I think that there should probably be some building stuff changed so that there's some sound barriers. I found it kind of funny, Mike Cooper was asked, the planning department director was asked why we don't require some kind of soundproofing. He says, well, building codes have to do with public safety. Well, isn't the health department the one measuring the noise levels? How could you get more public safety than that? Anyway, on to some other things. Last week we had an issue with asking questions at the informational meeting about the budgets, and one of the counselors, I don't know who it was, said, well, you could just email the directors. Well, no, that's not the point. The point of asking questions at the informational is so the public can hear the answers from the directors. When councilors are emailing directors back and forth, the public never gets to see those answers because they always like to stick some confidentiality thing on the email, which is kind of a joke anyway, because really the public owns the emails. We pay for them. The only thing that should ever be confidential when it comes to emails is personnel things. Otherwise, everything else should be open to the public. But that's why councilors ask questions at the informational, so that the public can hear the answer. I want to talk a little bit about legacy. We learned that they are being sued soon now, also along with Holgate Construction. I find it incredibly disheartening that we are going to go into business with someone who has the potential of being charged with being a felon. And I'm not talking about a regular old felony. I'm talking about wrongful death. Why on earth would the city do that? It baffles my mind. I mean, people ask me all the time, why did the city council vote for that? I said, I don't know. I said, it just, you know, if it smells bad and looks bad, it probably is bad. And it's bad. And one last thing I want to talk about is I noticed a couple people didn't make the ballot. They didn't get out in time and get enough signatures. It's too bad. I think we should change it to the way Fargo does it. And if you can, you have a choice. You can either get your signatures or you can pay a fee. I think it's silly because we're all over the map. School board, you need 20 signatures. District council, you need 50. At large, you need 200. Mayor, you need 200. It's dumb. Just charge a fee and let anybody be on the ballot that they can be on the ballot. The voters are the ones that are going to decide who gets to be elected, not people who sign a petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. That's not necessary, please. If we could hold the applause. Thank you. Sir, introduce yourself. Welcome.
Absolutely. My name is Michael Yeager. I'm an associate producer of the Whitewall Sessions. Thank you, Rex. I just came down here on behalf of the Icon Lounge. I want to say thank you to the city for not only broadcasting what you guys talk about, but tuning in earlier today was very informative to hear this health services, the police come out, and everybody talk about the noise levels. We believe that there should be a change for the zoning of Sioux Falls to not be considered residential, and that we should raise that to the business restrictions. Downtown Sioux Falls is the heart of this city. We believe that heart should be loud and should be pumping. Our motto is live music is better, and let's turn it up. Thank you for your time, Council.
Michael, thank you for taking the time to come this evening. Welcome.
Sierra Bruce, Sioux Falls. I want everybody from Icons to stand up here so I can do a presentation here. Everybody that's with Icon here. Look at this room. We're here for downtown people and business. And all of these people and bands and musicians cannot get paid. Concerts are getting canceled. $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 that the mother and son is losing. But it's all about downtown and let's grow and keep it alive. These people should not even be here today because the police don't have time to patrol the streets and get the crime, but they have the time to go in an apartment or a condominium and take some decimals with a meter. Are you kidding me here? Are you kidding? You guys, y'all know, when y'all go to bar fights, we don't got time for this, but we're going to have time to sit with the meter. They know. You know what? I want to talk about something else, but you know what? It aggravated me because we had Wiley's, a couple incident with Wiley's, and they were fighting outside with the big bars. Y'all can sit down now. And the police didn't have time for that. And there was fights galore at Wiley's. Sexual assaults could have happened at Wiley's. The police didn't have time for that, and Wiley's was paying the policemen to be in there, okay? And we was having all this crime in Wiley's. Would the police being security in here. I've been to Icons many of times. Their bands are loud. It is a club. It's downtown. We're a city. We're not a town. Goodness gracious alive. It's booming. So we're going to have all the rich people want to move into the downtown area and push all these businesses out so they can sleep good at night after they drink their wine. Of course not. All of these people are out of a job. I'm sure you have musicians here. They can't play their music and again can't get paid. And then whoever owns Icon shouldn't be paying property taxes right now because y'all put their bands on hold and the music on hold. I never seen a city like this, guys. Never seen a city like this. What do you expect when you go into downtown and Craig Lloyd has apartments there? You're gonna have noise. So, since the police got time with this decimal reader thing, because we have so much crime on the streets, y'all know that. Human trafficking is on the rise. I'm fighting it every day. Then go up on the decimals to 75 or 80, or you know what, just don't even put a decimal. Okay, if they're sitting there from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock and there's a band playing, let them play. After 2 o'clock, if it succeeds, then we have a problem. Never in my life, this is Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I feel like we're still stuck 20 years behind time here. Is the city going to give these people employment? All these musicians that are playing, I don't know how much they get paid, but I mean, this is their life. Or is the city going to pay them? Because is the police department going to pay them having their decimal reader? They have the decimal readers in the cars, by the way, too. It's not just the health department. They have decimal meters in the cars. But it amazes me that the police have so much time to enforce this crap here when they have slumlords sitting at the city attorney's desk for abatement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Jeff Hazard, 202 North Phillips Avenue. I just was hoping to add a little bit of information to what you heard from your city staff at your informational meeting today. I've got 8 points, if you'll bear with me. First one is the Sioux Falls noise ordinance is consistent with those of many other cities, if not already a bit liberal. Cities like Sacramento and Denver cap noise levels at 55 decibels from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 50 decibels from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. They don't differentiate between different parts of the city. Sioux Falls limit is already 5 decibels higher and reduces the limit a half hour later at 10:30. Given that the decibel measures sound intensity on a logarithmic scale and that every 10 decibel increase is a doubling of loudness, if you were to consider raising the nighttime noise limit to 60 decibels, you would be subjecting residents to noise twice as loud as allowed in many other cities. Furthermore, the L90 method the city uses to measure noise uses the average loudness over a 10-minute period. So a reading of 55 decibels, which would be in compliance with the ordinance, can easily include significant periods of noise substantially louder than 55 decibels. Second, noise impacts public health. According to the World Health Organization, 55 decibels is the threshold beyond which noise levels are considered dangerous to public health. Effects can include insomnia, depression, anxiety, fatigue, reduced performance, and perhaps most importantly, cardiovascular problems. The city's noise ordinance supports an environment, this is number 3, supports an environment where residential and entertainment uses can coexist. And that's what we've all always wanted for downtown, is a great place to live, work, and play. Both commercial and residential uses must continue to thrive and grow if downtown is to be the great place to live, work, and play that it wants to be. I would argue that residential is in fact the more important of the two, because the number of people living in a downtown area is often shown to be the most consistent driver of demand for downtown retail, restaurants, and bars, and in fact, music. 4, the icon location was subject to the Sioux Falls noise ordinance before icon existed. Apartments were developed in the 1990s on the 3rd floor of the same building icon now occupies. So when icon opened in 2010, it must have either been unaware of the noise ordinance or perhaps simply ignored it, choosing to avoid the expense of installing the acoustic upgrades to their facility that would have been required for compliance. As it is, noise levels have exceeded 70 decibels more than 40 feet away from the exterior wall of their building. And just as a quick reminder, 70 decibels is 4 times as loud as 50 decibels. 5, the noise generated by icon cannot be compared to train whistles and traffic noise. Everyone knows that the ambient noise level is higher downtown than in suburban residential neighborhoods, and that train whistles are loud, but they're infrequent and of short duration. The pulsing sound of a heavy metal band, for example, though at 11 p.m., when you know it won't stop until 2 a.m. and you've got to be at work at 7 a.m., is something else entirely. It's not reasonable to expect Icon's neighbors to give up their sleep while Icon fails to meet the noise ordinance. 6, many of us have lived in bigger cities and never experienced the kind of disruptive noise produced by Icon. I, for example, lived in San Francisco in an apartment across the street from one of that city's most popular bars, and I never heard any sound from inside the bar unless I happened to be in it. 7, Icon's excessive noise has been a nightmare for those that have lived with it. Jones 421 was built and units were purchased with knowledge of Sioux Falls noise ordinance, but without knowledge that Icon was consistently violating it. If the present ordinance is not retained and enforced, property values will be impacted and the future of downtown economic development will be compromised. 8, we appreciate that Icon is now making facility improvements in an effort to comply with the ordinance, but they've exhibited in the last few months a reluctance to maintain conformance. Ultimately, the noise level at the nearby residential units will be the volume of sound emitted by their loudspeakers, mitigated by the sound dampening capacity of their building, and by the distance from the source, as the volume of sound decreases by 6 decibels for every doubling of the distance.
Thank you, Jeff.
Just one more sentence.
10 seconds.
Okay. A practical method to ensure conformance might be to have an acoustical engineer calculate the impact of the mitigating factors to determine the maximum decibel level that can be emitted at the loudspeakers and still comply with the ordinance. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't have 90 decibels inside and still comply with the noise ordinance at the property line.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Why did it take 8 years? Next person, please. Welcome.
Greetings. I should have a PowerPoint going over here. There we go. My name is David Zalkaitis, and I had a smashing campaign for mayor until it smashed into the ditch. Hit a patch of ice and recovered, hit another patch of ice and recovered, and, well, patch number 3, and that was the end of it. But in addition to trying to campaign for mayor, I was busy trying to help people understand where we are politically, what's going on in the world, and what we can do about it. Well, and I did that in a variety of different ways. I like music very much, and I put together a little allegory, a little bit of poetry for the Zombie Walk Parade. Oh, music is just so wonderful. I wrote the lyrics for this thing, and then I had some help writing music. A friend did that for me. And it's just kind of fun, you know, music and politics and a music video. And I need to introduce a friend of mine, Doug Goresh. He did a great job over here. And here's the man who spent countless hours putting together a really fantastic music video. And I hope you all enjoy it. It's really made the rounds. Now that I'm not really politicking anymore, it's okay. So. The guy downstairs who does all this stuff, can you turn it on for us? Oh, Jim, thanks. You'll enjoy it. It's all right. Zombie undead coming our way. Evil monsters make them pay. They want to rule our town, but they're going down, down. You see Davidson standing tall. He'll make the zombies fall. Mr. Zokitis will excite us. Zombies undead won't bother us. David Z, yeah, he's our man. Yes, indeed, now that's the plan. We are strong, we will rise. Beat them down, those zombies of ours. Darkness bring us hateful fear. Evil is terror, devouring there. Dark what created power. Now is their fiery power. Find the light, hold it tight. Evil thoughts, we must fight. Arise, O my sleeping people. Meet me at the church steeple. Hope and truth still persist. I see them distant in the mist. They light my beacon song. To them we must belong. Zombies undead coming our way. Evil monsters make them pay. They want to rule our town, but they're going down, down. You see David Z standing tall. He'll make the zombies fall. Mr. Zokitis will excite us. Zombies undead won't follow us. So that's what it's all about, reclaiming government for the people. And I hope you enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Good evening, council members. My name is Christopher Reistroffer. I'm a resident of downtown Sioux Falls. And tonight I'm here to talk to you about the decibel readings that are going on downtown, the noise issues, as just a general whole. And I want to point out, as a resident of downtown of 5 years, I've lived in Shriver Square above Lucky's. I've lived in the Carpenter Bar, in the Carpenter Building above Stogie's when it was present. And I currently live in the 601 Lofts and anxiously waiting Levitt Park and its live music to generate more attention downtown. I really want to focus and just bring attention to you folks that I think, as a long-term resident of downtown and a business owner downtown, that it really is an entertainment district. It's an environment where those of us who work, live, and play down here recognize that live music and activities are one of the driving economic sources for our community. I myself have worked in the entertainment industry now for over a decade, and I can tell you, working with entertainers, that many of them have writers with organizations that they're going to perform at certain decibel reading levels just to make sure the shows are performed and received in the way they intend. So today, I come before you folks to just say, let's not kid ourselves and understand that all of downtown Sioux Falls' e-commerce is fundamentally in the root, driven by both entertainment and our food services delivered by many of our local residents. Between the entertainment and the food industry, I believe that those themselves drive retail, and those themselves also drive folks like myself to live in downtown Sioux Falls. I point out, in terms of how we bring attention to downtown, that we should study other cities, much like Omaha and their old market. Their primary focus is promoting entertainment, because I'm sure, as most of you are aware, that entertainment is what brings people into our thriving community. Pardon me. My thought process on this is that entertainment is going to be promoted first, and with that, everything else follows secondary to that. And my opinion there lies in the fact that nowadays folks can buy products online anywhere at any time. When you bring folks downtown Sioux Falls in regards to entertainment and for food, they're bound to shop in our stores, and they're bound to spend money with local businesses like myself. I think today is an opportunity to talk about, and we should reflect on really what happened at downtown Sioux Falls in the 80s, when we neglected it. When we neglected downtown Sioux Falls, residents left and businesses left, and we're, 3 decades out later, and we're just now starting to recover. And so I just implore you folks to think about downtown Sioux Falls as an entertainment district, and with that, there should be louder noise ordinances allowed, and I say that distinctly because I live downtown to be a part of that music. When I lived in the Shriver Square building, I warmly opened up my windows so that I could hear what was being played at Stogie's. When I live downtown, I have friends that live above Bros that warmly welcome their windows so they can hear artists like Jeremy Haig and Burlap Wolfgang play loud music that all of us enjoy. It's a part of our community and it's a part of our culture. And so I say today, if we're not aware of what's going on at Icon and the readings there, it's only going to be amplified when Levitt Park comes to fruition and they have X number of concerts. I myself live on Phillips Avenue facing Levitt Park, joyfully awaiting loud music, big crowds, because I understand that things like Hot Harley Nights, Hot Summer Nights, and all the miscellaneous festivals we have downtown bring patrons both from Sioux Falls and out of Sioux Falls into our community. And I leave you in saying, if we aren't aware of what's going on at Icon, what's next? Because we have Wiley's, we have Lucky's, we have Stogie's, we have Bros, all throughout downtown. We celebrate live music. It is very much a part of our culture. And I believe any persons that are moving into our culture downtown need to recognize that if you want it to be quiet and you want it to be meek, I encourage you to live in a suburb. I encourage you to live near McKinnon Park or just outside of our community, because the reality is we're all a tight-knit community. There's 2,000 of us. Most of us know one another. We enjoy food, we enjoy drink, and we enjoy live music together. And I implore that each and every one of you think about all the many people here today that are employed and live downtown and do it specifically so we can all share the community together. I warmly thank you guys for your time and your willingness to hear me out. Thank you, council members.
Christopher, thank you. Welcome.
Hello, good evening. Can everyone hear me? My name is Ileana Perez. I've been a resident of Sioux Falls for about 8 years, but I didn't always live here. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I'm part of the Latino Spanish-speaking community here in Sioux Falls. I've also attended countless events at Icon, but more importantly, Icon is the only venue in downtown that allows the Latino community to host events on Friday and Saturday nights. They do it at least once a month. They've done it for years, and the impact that it has on the Latino entertainment is priceless. The staff and the owners at Icon work really hard, not only to provide for our entertainment value in the Latino community, but to keep us safe while we're in the establishment. They do a great job, even with the language barrier. Hundreds of people who attend the Latino events at the Icon come from out-of-state cities like Worthington and Sioux City, and they also come from as far as Brookings, Mitchell, and even Huron to eat dinner in Sioux Falls, have a good time at the Icon, stay in a hotel overnight, get up the next morning, do a little shopping, do a little eating, and do a little touring in the city before they go back home for the week. No other establishment downtown has opened their doors to the Latino community like the Icon has. And for that reason, I love them dearly. But I would never live next door to them. I live on 32nd and T. Ellis Road because I like it quiet. I understand that 40% of their revenue comes from the music and concert events, and that they're not able to operate with this new noise ordinance that is just now happening to pop up since the Jones 21 building happened to pop up. I'm here because I would like for us as a city to allow the Icon not only to continue business as usual, but to grow their entertainment service without being penalized due to noise complaints. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here this evening, and thank you for being part of our community. Yes?
Hello there. My name is Jacob Carl Lemmy, and I am a local musician here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm here to speak on behalf of everybody here that I know play here in this town. And I just wanted to voice my own opinions on this. That I think it's kind of ridiculous that we've had to come to this to talk about a noise complaint, because other people that choose to live downtown have now just decided to penalize one of the most important venues that cater to me, cater to all my friends around me, and cater to future generations that are going to be wanting to have their voice heard, but they don't know how to express it. That is all I want to say.
Thank you, Carl. Well said.
Hello. It's my first time here at a city meeting. My name's Ellery Krieger. Big fan of yours. But you're all great people. I'm here obviously for ICON. I think a lot of people are tonight. And I want to express my voice and concerns about that. So one thing I noticed with ICON right away is that, and I was looking forward to that new building down there. I love new projects downtown, but I thought it was kind of odd that we're hearing these complaints when people moved in and knew exactly what they were getting into. It's written quite easily. There's a live venue next door. I don't know how they got sold on that project or moved in there with knowing that, but I also noticed that there's so many live venues downtown. It's unfathomable to think that, are we going to cherry pick? Are we going to decipher? Someone's going to say, you can play, but you can't play. And they're all right there in that area. And it's almost saying, we're going to decide. We're the lawmakers, but it really should be the voice of the people. And I'd also like to mention that right across the street, well, they'll be getting even more noise. We're putting up, I don't know if we're still doing that, a live venue that should go all summer long. So what do we say then? Do we say, I'm sorry you can't put up this live venue because we've already received complaints next door, and maybe we should just squash all of it? There was one other issue too with the medical issue, and I thought that was kind of interesting that it was brought up. And I thought, well, gee, any live concert you go to, you might be able to make that argument of a medical issue. I'm sure at the Premier Center, any venue in town. So I don't know how big of an argument it is. I think that anyone who goes to a concert realizes that noise levels are going to be high, and I don't know if we can, we might as well shut down all live music venues if that's the case. So in closing, I do hope that we make a swift decision on it, that it's tackled rather quickly, because it would be a shame to go ahead and cherry pick and push a business out without taking in consideration all the other businesses downtown that have a thriving music venue. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening.
Hello, council members. Thanks for having me here tonight and letting me speak. My name's Will Wilcox. I've lived downtown for about 15 months now. I've lived in the Carpenter building, really enjoyed my time there, and now I live in the Jones building. And wanted to let you all know that when I made my decision to move into the Jones, I was expecting that the ordinance would remain as it is. So if raised to 65 decibels, I want the council to consider that it would allow someone to crank up their stereo in their residence twice as loud as they can now at 3 a.m. in the morning. Right now, our decibel limit after 10 p.m., after 10:30 p.m. is 55 decibels. If we were to raise the decibel limit to 65 24/7, as has been suggested, it's a 10 decibel increase. A 10 decibel increase is roughly double the sound. So there's implications in this that go beyond this one-off with Icon Lounge. There's future implications of landlords now having to allow double the sound at night, in the middle of the night. I want to mention that We trust you will give the recent campaign of misinformation on social media the weight it deserves and find the best solution for all residents of Sioux Falls. I want to mention again, there's been no rezoning that's happened. The zoning has been the same since the 1990s. So, an owner at Icon told us in October that Icon wanted to comply with a noise ordinance, but they couldn't simply turn down the loudspeaker volume because their contracts with bands specify a minimum level of 75 decibels. We have estimated, however, that since loudness decreases 6 decibels for every doubling of the distance from the source, if the loudspeakers are producing 75 decibels measured 2 feet from the source, then at 4 feet, it will be 69 decibels, at 8 feet, 63 decibels, at 16 feet, 57 decibels, and at 32 feet, 51 decibels. So, even if Icon's walls and roof blocked no sound, at the 75 level specified in their contracts, they would be in compliance with the noise ordinance at 4th floor, decks, patios, decks and balconies at the Jones. Clearly, Icon could actually comply simply by turning down the volume. What I want to know is, why not try and talk about this as neighbors? Why launch a media campaign? Why not, like you might do with your neighbor, your new neighbor who's putting snow where you might not want it on your property, or whose hedge line is too far overgrown onto your property? Wouldn't you just go to that person and talk to them about it and try and strike some kind of compromise? So I'm really not understanding that. I actually moved into the Jones excited about Icon, wanting to attend some of Icon's events. I do think their regular bar nights and many of their events are fine. But there's others where the pulsing bass rings on and on, pounds on and on throughout the night. We have measurements of 73 decibels by the Department of Health after 10:30 p.m. So this isn't about an attempt by a few whiny people to shut down the entertainment district in Sioux Falls. This is about some extreme cases of a very rude neighbor who has, to this point, refused to speak with us and who apparently views the over 32 new units in the Jones building and the people that will live there not as potential clients, but as whiners that are trying to shut down the entertainment district.
Will, can you wrap it up, please?
I'm done. Thank you
very much. Thanks for being here this evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
My name is Robert Gregorczyk.
Robert?
Very Polish last name. Thank you. Anyway, I've been playing music in Sioux Falls for about 15 years. And I would think that the biggest thing is a lot of us aren't necessarily worried about the entertainment district being shut down so much as the connotations that a lot of us have seen. When I was 16 years old, there was a lot of bands in town, and they were really good bands, and then a lot of shows started getting shut down. And that discouraged a lot of people from making art and being creative, one of the things the city really prides itself on. And one of the things I also noticed was before that happened, when the music scene was thriving, there was kids that were staying away from drugs and stuff like that. Like, it provided positive things rather than a lot of the negative things that kids get into. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and she loves music. She's already playing piano. And I'm so excited for the fact that she might get to play music in this city someday. But if we start here, what about when other venues start showing up downtown and it gets to the point that maybe they're not allowed to have those opportunities? Like, right now it's a stone, you know what I mean? But what about when there's multiple stones being thrown. We're not worried necessarily about the attack on just one venue. We're worried about the future of our music scene in general, because a lot of us put a lot of time and effort. Some of us make good money off of playing shows, and when a lot of these shows are being shut down, we have a show, my band has a show on Friday night, which hopefully won't get shut down. And it's going to be a good time for a lot of people. And we hope that we'll be able to continue to have these events, because decibel readings, a lot of the things that I've heard tonight, it seems like people really don't understand how sound works. Sound is a constant. Whether you have 50 decibels of talking or my guitar or a drum set, it's going to be constant regardless of where that sound is being produced from, because that's a level reading. And regardless of whether you're talking or where that sound is being produced from, it's going to be constant. So to say that it necessarily doubles, that seems, I don't know, it seems like someone might need a math lesson, or maybe I'm just a little bit wrong on that. But sound is a constant. And it would be, I think the city of Sioux Falls could maybe look at maybe rezoning some of the areas where it's commercial, or just making an allowance for those bands. And so it's not like there's a band every night of the week. It's not like Monday night we're having metal bands playing until 2 in the morning. In fact, I've never been to any concert at Icon that went till 2 in the morning, because most bars have that clock where it's set back the time, and most of the bars in town stop music at 1 a.m. At least in my experience. I'm sure there's been times that it could have gone later, but I've never once been to any show at Icon that went till 2 a.m. I would just like to say that, talk about a lot of it's like the metal bands, talk about being like these loud bands. The loudest band I've ever seen was REO Speedwagon. They're not metal at all. They've been around for 30, 40 years. I'm telling you right now. Music's like an identity to so many people. As you can see tonight, there's a lot of people that have turned out. There was more people that sent you guys emails that couldn't make it, people from out of state. I know personally people from North Dakota and all the surrounding states, they come down here to see our local shows, not even just like the Foo Fighters, to see local bands, whether it's a punk band or a folk band. The thing that is awesome about Sioux Falls' music scene is we cater to every genre, whether you're playing electronic, rock and roll, country. We've got a little bit of something for everyone. And I think that the Icon has made a lot of steps to reinforcing their sound, and I think that they've kind of taken the good measure to do that. But what worries me is that there's this new building that was built where some of these condos are, from what I'm understanding, seeing some of the facts online, whether those are facts or not, is like $200,000, $300,000 for some of these condos. Whether that's true or not, if they're spending that type of money on a building, you would have think that rather than just safety being the only concern, building next to a well-known entertainment venue, soundproofing wouldn't have been that much more for people that are spending $200,000, $300,000, or however much it is. Even if you're spending over $100,000, soundproofing is not that expensive for something like that. If the Icon's willing to do things, maybe the Jones Building should be willing to do some things too. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Excuse me. Hello, my name is Matthew Mica. I've lived in Sioux Falls for the last 10 years. I've been a large part of the music scene, as a lot of people here to talk about the Icon are, and just a few things that I wanted to mention for you guys. As things have been brought up, one thing that I keep noticing is that anybody that's talked in support of the Jones Building and opposition to the Icon, they have a lot of facts. They have a lot of numbers. They have a lot of those types of things, and they don't really cater to common sense. So I just wanted to throw that out there and point that out, because realistically what it comes down to is this is a slippery slope for the entirety of Sioux Falls and the music community and the arts community. Realistically, if you look at it from that standpoint, this would be something that would then also affect Biggs Bar. It would also affect the Sanford Center. It would also affect the district. Right across the street from the district, there's an awful lot of housing. Not sure what those housing units bring in as far as noise complaints or things of that nature, but this affects every bit of the entertainment industry in Sioux Falls, not just one venue, because it is a slippery slope if we start looking at it as, nope, we're going to cater to these few people over here that are making the complaints. The other thing I thought was extremely interesting was that the Jones Building advertises their residences as quiet. I found that a bit unusual. Because realistically, what has happened is there are all these buildings that are being built for residences nearby downtown in that area where the icon is. And they are all quite expensive, or they're for senior living. I don't mind the noise. I'd go live there if I could afford $3,000 a month, but I can't. What I had to do is I had to get a sitter for my children tonight so I could come here and speak to you guys about something that I'm passionate about. And a lot of other people here did the same thing. I mean, I could make a big show and have everybody that's here to talk about this in support of the icon stand up again, as was done earlier, but I think you guys are intelligent and you know how many of us are here in support of the icon and what it stands for and what it's trying to do for our community. Realistically, that's what I came here to say. I do sincerely hope that the city that I love and that I live in and that I reside in, that I work in and play music in, makes the right decision when it comes to this issue. Thank you.
Matt, thank you for taking time to be here tonight.
Hello, council members. My name is Xavier Pastrano. I'm a full-time English teacher at Lincoln High School and a college composition instructor at Southeast Tech. And when I'm not teaching at two of the best educational institutions in the state of South Dakota, I am one of those metalheads down at Icon Lounge. I'm very passionate about music. I do play in a local band, and we have frequented Icon Lounge numerous times. I first moved here in 1996, and looking back, downtown Sioux Falls has changed exponentially, and for the better, with that being said. I can say that I now feel comfortable. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I now feel comfortable walking downtown with my family, and I honestly feel like it's because of the businesses and the camaraderie and the entertainment industry that is now in downtown Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I feel like Icon has become a large staple of our downtown community. They definitely carry their own against a lot of these bigger venues that we do have here, the Sanford Premier Center and the District. They've brought in national touring acts that have pulled in huge crowds, and I think that that's absolutely fantastic. And in doing so, they've helped boost our economy. One thing that I continue to see promoted is this push to make Sioux Falls a contender for entertainment. We're contending against a lot of other great cities around us, but why can't we do the same? Or not the same, why can't we do our own thing? Why can't we be as successful and do our own thing as Sioux Falls, South Dakota? We want our residents to not only stay here for large events, but we also want people from outlying cities to come in. And I feel like Icon has greatly contributed to the economy here because of the tireless effort and work that the staff and the promoters put into their work there. Not only does Icon provide a platform for national acts to share their music and their talents, but it also provides an opportunity for us local musicians to share our passion, to share our gift, and not only do that, but to help give back to our community. There have been several events that the Icon has hosted that has helped out our community. For example, there was the Press On CD release show where all the proceeds went to benefit the Helpline Center to raise awareness for suicide prevention. Different Folk record label here in Sioux Falls has held several CD release shows at the Icon. Additionally, we have a new Covers for a Cause show that's going to be going up, and they're going to be donating supplies, hygienic supplies, and also all the proceeds will be going towards trying to fund a new skate park for our children here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So again, Icon is providing an opportunity or a platform here for us local musicians to give back to our community. We're one of the few that has done that here. Again, because of the efforts in the city council members and the citizens of Sioux Falls, I feel like, again, we strive to make Sioux Falls a contender for entertainment. I feel like we're doing a great job, but I feel like this whole situation would be very limiting for Icon Lounge. The biggest thing being this is as the city grows, so does the noise, so does the activity, and I feel like that is something that comes with the territory of living in downtown. There are other numerous large cities that deal with this. We look at uptown Minneapolis or downtown Minneapolis. We have a lot of people against that live, work, play mentality. They can make it work. I think we can. I think what's happening here is that we are growing. The city of Sioux Falls is growing, and I feel like these experiences, this situation here is not uncommon. I feel like we're learning as we kind of go along. There are going to be discrepancies about sound because this is a new situation. We have new big venues coming up with residential, buildings coming up next to it and whatnot. But again, there's the idea of we've put so much effort into publicizing downtown Sioux Falls as an entertainment district that I feel like limiting the bands that play or decibel levels would detract from that. Lastly, I have a quote here from Coretta Scott King, and she said, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members." I feel like Icon as a business embodies that passage. I feel like they are incredibly compassionate, not just the business itself, but the people behind the business. Again, like I said, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an educator. I just love music. And they give an opportunity for this, 31-year-old guy to go up on stage and kind of live out this dream of making music. Not only that, they've given me and my band opportunities and other bands here in Sioux Falls to give back to our community as well. And additionally, again, I feel like they have, from what I've read so far, they've done what they can to meet the compliances of the Jones building. So I guess when I say on behalf of, this is a community here. Just like the Jones building has a community of people, these people here, this is our community. We don't live under the same roof. We don't live all together, but we do share the Icon, and that's our community building. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
David, thank you. And welcome.
Welcome. My name's Jessie Ryerson. I'm president of the Sioux Falls Herpetological Society, which is a group of people that keeps reptiles and amphibians as pets here in Sioux Falls. We're a nonprofit group. We do a lot of educational stuff with schools and daycares. Early last week, my group was contacted by a couple of people here in Sioux Falls who had an encounter with animal control at their residence. Apparently, animal control was claiming that their snakes they owned were exotic animals and therefore illegal under city ordinance. Animal control also said that they had more than 4 pets. They had a dog and I think they had 4 snakes, so they had 5 pets. So animal control is saying they need to get rid of their snakes. These ordinances that were written, I did a little looking. I've kept reptiles here in Sioux Falls for over 10 years, and I never even knew these ordinances existed until it was brought to my attention in the last probably month or so here. I started looking into them. And I'd never known this. I've had encounters with animal control officers several times, always positive, never once told that anything I was doing was illegal. But these laws, when they were written, reptiles and amphibians weren't kept in the pet industry a lot just because of technology didn't exist to care for them in captivity. They've become more and more popular over the last 10 to 15 years. I think when these laws were written, it was more dogs and cats that they had in mind. The term exotic animal under Sioux Falls Ordinance would be anything that's not native to the United States. So for example, I know somebody in Sioux Falls who has an American alligator as a pet, and that's legal under the current city ordinance. However, somebody can't own a bearded dragon under city ordinance, but somebody can own an American alligator that's going to get 14 feet long and could eat children, literally. I think that's pretty ridiculous. I think we need to update the ordinances to be more in line with what people are actually keeping as pets. I mean, every pet store out there sells bearded dragons, leopard geckos, different types of geckos and frogs. I also think the number of 4 pets per household needs to be changed. If you have 4 frogs in an aquarium and you have 1 dog, you're breaking city ordinance. Those 4 frogs, compared to someone that keeps fish in an aquarium, they don't take up a lot of room. They're not going to cause a health concern for your neighbors or a safety concern for the community. I think the law should be rewritten to maybe state that as long as the animals you keep don't pose a threat or a concern to your community, and the animals are being well cared for, that you should be able to keep them. I think that's about it.
Jesse, thank you. Can you introduce us to your top-notch assistant there?
This is my son, Gerald.
Gerald,
and he's
thank you for being here.
Future reptile keeper.
Thank you very much.
How you doing, Councilman?
Fine, thank you.
So, first time public speaking in Sioux Falls. I've been here 4 years now.
Could you repeat your name again, please?
Jared Kimball.
Jared?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, I've been here 4 years now, living in Sioux Falls. I came from the great state of North Carolina, where we do have, vicious, venomous reptiles. And I got a herpetology degree, and I've been keeping reptiles for over 26 years. So, yes. Thank you. So, I've been doing this for 26 years now. I encountered your great animal control officers in early April of last year at Falls Park. I was doing an educational meet and greet, and got cited a ticket for not having a snake on a leash. I've never in my life heard of such a thing. I've done this in 27 different states in the United States. I've educated children, different types of people. Never once has anybody ever come to me, and mind you, it was April Fool's Day. I thought the guy was joking. So, never cited me for not having a snake on a leash. It went kind of viral, you know. I believe there's animal controls, you know, feeling kind of hurt about, you know, getting all the media attention that, you know, went along with. You know, I got people from Japan, the United Kingdom, even Ellen DeGeneres contacted me with this matter. You know, I really don't want to fight with your city and animal control, but I would love to continue to educating kids and doing what we do in public, because all snakes are not venomous, they're not vicious, and they're great creatures to have. You know, not just snakes in general, it's leopard geckos, they're you know, adorable. You know, bearded dragons, like Jessie said, you know, you're allowed to own a 14-foot alligator, but you can't own a 6-inch lizard. It's kind of absurd. But with that being said, like I said, we do educate. You know, we do this pro bono. We do this free of charge for the most part. Nonprofit organization in Sioux Falls, and we've never once had a complaint as far as we were doing something dangerous. You know, people are scared, skeptical, and I don't push anything on anybody. I let them view from afar. I'm not running up to you with a 10-foot bowl and throwing it on you. I wouldn't do that. It would do what I'm trying to do. It would kill what I'm trying to stand for here. But I just want the opportunity in the state of Sioux Falls and South Dakota, you know, to be able to own and operate, you know, my little educational program that we have here. With that being said, you know, like, I believe everybody should have the chance to pick and choose what they want as pets. You know, I'm not a cat and dog person, but, you know, if we're going to do anything that's not native to, you know, United States, people shouldn't have German Shepherds. It's kind of illegal. You know, or Chihuahuas, you know how dangerous a Chihuahua could be. But I'm just saying, man, I think some of the laws that were written are a little asinine. They really are. And animal control needs to calm down just a little bit and have a, you know, common sense and discretion. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Kim Stanga. I've lived here pretty much all my life. Matter of fact, it has been all my life, 57 years. We used to promote Sioux Falls around our citizens, and lately it's around our looks. It seems like we have to look good for people instead of our citizens being able to sell to come into Sioux Falls. This right here, we should have looked at this ordinance before we started building downtown. We're putting the cart in front of the horse. We should have, if this was back when I was growing up, I went to the pomp room. You think this is a crowd? If you guys were pulling this with the pomp room, we would have had to go to the Civic Center. We would have had to go to the Sanford Center because there would have been that many people. This right here is something that should be deliberated between the apartment owners and the owner of the icon. This should have nothing to do with the city council. Yeah, there should be a couple people from the city council sitting in on the meeting, but being able to look at things a little bit rational. Granted, not every band plays until 2 o'clock in the morning. Most bands stop at midnight, at 1 o'clock. And I just look at it as, if we're going to do it with the icon, what are we going to do with the Levitt Center? What are we going to do with the bands that we have downtown? We're going to restrict them on how they can run their speakers. But if you're going to do it downtown, then you got to go through with the whole town. You can't just pick little pieces and be able to enforce an ordinance downtown where you can't enforce an ordinance someplace else. Pretty soon it's going to be Jazz Fest. Somebody in the neighborhood isn't going to like Jazz Fest because it's too loud. So what are we going to do? Tell them to either turn their speakers down or we won't have Jazz Fest anymore. It's through the whole city, not just downtown.
Thank you, Tim.
Hello, council members. My name is Jared Pomerkey. I'm a resident of downtown. Before moving to Sioux Falls, I lived in downtown Detroit, right across from a club. Lived there for 5 years. I lived in Cleveland. It's across the way from an open air venue that had large artists that came through there. Also in the entertainment district, and I would say when I moved downtown Sioux Falls, I knew what I was getting into. I like downtown areas. I don't think that people aren't complaining about regular downtown noise, about concerts, or even about bars or noise, open air concerts. People are complaining when the bass is so loud that it's rattling their windows. So I think that's an important distinction, is that this isn't about just regular concerts. Many times there aren't any issues, but there are a few concerts, few times where the bass is so loud that it rattles the windows of nearby buildings. That's the main issue. So when you're looking at this, it's not about restricting music. It's just that there are some extremes where there are problems. And I'm pretty sure the condo board would be happy to sit down with ICON and talk about it. Up until now, that's not something that's happened, but I'm sure we would sit down and do that. I guess that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Kyle Rogers. I'd like to say, I mean, the reason that you see so many people here is that the Icon Lounge is loved. It's a great place. I really like it. And that's why I think you should keep the ordinance as it is, actually. I've been to one concert at the Icon Lounge, and to some degree, maybe this is just, customer service, me complaining. But it was so loud that I couldn't make anything out. I'd seen the band before elsewhere, loved them. It was painful to be there. I left after 20 minutes, and you can ask my wife. I do not have the best hearing, so it's not like it was super loud to me and no one else. But I'd like to just kind of go through all of the arguments, and if I've missed anything, I do apologize, but all the arguments that those who are for the Icon Lounge's raising of the decibel limit, if you will, have made tonight. I do have a lot of friends on that side, and I think they care deeply, obviously, and I'd just like to perhaps point out some problems I have with some of their arguments. First of all, the idea that they cannot operate at 55 decibels, as we've seen before, and as the residents of the Jones Building have said. I should mention, I do not live at the Jones Building. I live in a suburb because I like my quiet. But, as I said, Denver, for instance, is a place where they're at 50 decibels. I don't think anyone's sitting around going, oh, Denver, they never get concerts. It seems to me like it's perfectly acceptable to operate at the 55 decibel level. A lot of people have pointed out that those who moved into the Jones Building knew that they were moving next to Icon, that they knew what it was. And they did know the ordinances, the ordinance that currently exists. The problem isn't that they didn't know what the law was. The problem is Icon is not accepting that, not going along with it. I've heard that concerts have been canceled. I can't speak to that. I personally, I can't imagine that having the lower volume, Denver, other places, would really matter for that. One person said that the police don't have time for this. I think that's an excellent point. I would certainly be very disturbed if the police were spending more time on Icon Lounge than they are on more serious crimes. At the same time, that doesn't mean that it's not an issue for the people who live at the Jones Building and downtown. I've heard a lot of people mention that they're worried that this is going to push businesses out. I don't think, any non-musical venue isn't really affected by this ordinance. No one's going like, oh man, CH Patisserie, they're macaroons, it's so loud, They have many other businesses were mentioned, Stogie's, Lucky's, Bros, other places that have taken the time, the effort, the energy, the money to actually make sure that they are complying with the ordinances, and it seems almost unfair to them to give the Icon Lounge a free pass. One person mentioned that the Icon is the only venue that allows a Latino community to meet Fridays and Saturdays and nights, and they also do a lot of great work with suicide prevention. I think this is wonderful. Not necessarily relevant, but absolutely wonderful. I think the Icon Lounge really is a great place and is really doing some good work. One person asked, are we going to cherry pick businesses? Of course, if it's a noise ordinance, that's not really cherry picking. That's all businesses are complying to the same law. Another live venue is going into existence. Again, as long as they comply, we're good. The one gentleman mentioned that sound is constant. I think he misunderstood how sound works, that the decibels at a specific given point, if you raise 10, that's really not important. I'm sorry. I'll go back. If one person mentioned if they were spending so much money on this building, the Lloyd building, that they should have spent some on soundproofing or spent more on soundproofing. This is kind of a valid point, but at the same time, it's not really their business to change what the ordinances are or to alter the building for non-existent ordinances. One person said that the Jones people had a lot of facts but not a lot of common sense. I'm not entirely sure what he meant by that. Personally, I think facts are good.
You're at your 5 minutes, but if you could wrap up your summary, I think it's actually quite good and a good way to wrap up this topic. Although, sir, I would like to get to you because I think you've been standing and waiting for some time.
So I'll just end with this. One person mentioned the Coretta Scott King quote about compassion for other members of your community, and I think both sides coming to an agreement at some point would probably show the most compassion. Personally, the most compassionate thing you could do for me is let me sleep. So, thank you.
Kyle, thank you. Thank you. Yes. And it looks like we have one other individual, so we'll get to you, sir.
Thank you, Council. My name is Nick Densmore. I'm here in support of ICON, but I'm not a musician. I'm a professional wrestler. 2 years ago, I moved to Sioux Falls and brought live pro wrestling. My company is called Midwest All Pro Wrestling. And our ICON is our home. We've done monthly live events there for the past 2 years. I toured around the world and wrestled in every big and mid-size downtown with the WWE. And one of the things that drew me to Sioux Falls was the 47th fastest growing city in the country, the best little city in America, 2% unemployment rate with entertainment galore, so much so that I can't run on a Friday or Saturday night because I can't compete with the other entertainment. I have to run on Sundays, which is great. But I feel like if you let a building be constructed next to an existing business and be zoned residential that then affects the existing business, you're really doing a disservice to the downtown. I'd like to say that the annoyances of the minority should not outweigh the happiness of the majority. Thank you.
Hello, thanks for sneaking me in here under the wire. My name is Adam Ellsworth. I'm an audio engineer here in town and owner of Molten Audio. We're responsible for some of the noise complaints you've had over the past 15 years, and for that I apologize. We do the Icon the District as well as most downtown Sioux Falls incorporated events. Just want to add a couple things. First, we have a really good working relationship with the health department. They've always been accommodating to ensure smooth events, especially outdoors. We appreciate that. The challenge with live music is that it's difficult to reduce the volume level. Generally, for example, you can only play drums so quietly. In order to achieve a balanced mix, you have to raise everything up. And so if you've got a room full of 300-400 people, you need to get the band louder than the crowd, or the show will be a disaster. And that is why we can't simply turn it down to 75 decibels inside or 80 decibels, something like that. You mix to the crowd. We don't simply mix loud to be loud. I understand the challenge in striking a balance between residential use and promoting entertainment at the same time. Icon and music are certainly not on trial tonight, and we realize there's not been a recent zoning change. This is kind of a new conflict as downtown becomes more dense. However, as the residential use has increased, the multi-use situation as it is may not be practical. Limit of 65 decibels commercial is not practical if there's always a residential use within 20 feet or 50 feet, which knocks you back down to 50 decibels. Therefore, I would encourage the committee to request the health department to get a comprehensive analysis of the baseline noise level downtown. You know, what is the noise on every Friday and Saturday night at different points? Because the reality might be that it's always 65 decibels and there's generally just not a conflict. The residents and the businesses are cooperating, and so it might be time to simply codify what is already reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's been an hour and 15 minutes of testimony. Very interesting testimony, at least in my opinion. Very rarely did I hear a lot of repetition of the same old thing over and over again. This is city government at work, you guys. Thank you for being here. Now, unless you really love zoning ordinances, although we do have some alcohol-related issues on the docket here soon. Some of you might be interested in those. But if you're not interested in attending the remainder of the meeting, you would be free to get up and leave at this time, and we'll just delay until you guys exit. Thanks again for being here.
Well done, Mr. Chair. Nicely done. Yeah, well, he went with it, though. Yeah, once you go with it, you can't stop. Irritating as all get out, but... Yeah, and who's the front? Why?
Did we end with Nick? Wasn't it? Adam was? Just a second here. Okay, we'll go ahead and begin, so if you can continue to exit quietly. By the way, we had 23 presenters during public input this evening. Okay, item number 30, please.
Item 30 is transfer of a 2018 retail wine license from Max Wayne Nails Art 5012 South Cliff Avenue to Nails Art LLC Nails Art 5012 South Cliff Avenue with conditional use permit 2014-93 being approved on October 1st, 2014. Item 31, transfer of 2017-18 retail malt beverage license with video lottery terminals from Nelson Operating Company Friday's Hero, 1004 West 18th Street to Nelson Operating Company North Star Grill and Pub, 4305 West 61st Street North. Full-service restaurant, CUP not required, pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 32 is a new 2018 retail wine license for Nelson Operating Company North Star Grill and Pub, 4305 West 61st Street North, full services restaurant, CUP not required, pending final inspections per fire, health, and building services. Item 33 is a new 2018 retail wine license for Shop Dog LLC, Shop Dog, 5015 Southwestern Avenue, Suite 130. CUP not required. Item 34 is a new 2017-18 retail malt beverage license for Myers LLC, Myers Deli, 221 South Phillips Avenue, CUP not required, pending final inspections per health. Item 35 is a new 2018 retail wine license for Myers LLC, Myers Deli, 221 South Phillips Avenue, CUP not required, pending final inspections per health. Item 36 is a new 2018 packaged liquor license for Shenanigans Pub, Incorporated Shenanigans Sports Bar and Grill, 1903 South Ellis Road, CUP not required. This is in addition to an existing license. Item 37 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Stockyards Egg Experience, 300 East Falls Park Drive for a Young Professionals Network event on March 8, 2018. Item 38 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America, Chef Dominique's Catering, to be operated at Dakota Dental, 208 West 37th Street for retirement open house on March 22, 2018. Item 39 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Senior Citizen Services to be operated at Active Generations, 2300 West 46th Street for fundraiser events on March 22nd and April 29, 2018. Item 40 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Westford Ho Country Club Incorporated, the Country Club of Sioux Falls, to be operated at Great Western Bank, 225 South Main Avenue, for a chamber mixer on April 10, 2018. Item 41 is a special one-day liquor license for Butterfly House and Aquarium, 4320 South Oxbow Avenue, for a fundraiser on April 20, 2018. Item 42 is a special one-day wine license for Siouxland Heritage Museums to be operated at Pettigrew Home and Museum, 131 North Duluth Avenue, for History Happy Hour on April 26 and August 30th, 2018. Item 43 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Sisters of the Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary to be operated at Falls Park, 305 East Falls Park Drive, for a fundraiser on May 12, 2018. Item 44 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation to be operated at Sanford Imaginetics, 1321 West 22nd Street, for a fundraiser on May 3, 2018. Item 45 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Siouxland Heritage Museums to be operated at Pettigrew Home and Museum, 131 North Duluth Avenue, for History Happy Hour on May 24, 2018. Item 46 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society to be operated at Yankton Trail Park, 3901 South Minnesota Avenue, for Jazz Fest on July 20th and 21st, 2018.
Welcome, Jamie. I thought maybe more people would hang around for the alcohol-related issues.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 30 is just a transfer of ownership from personal name into an LLC. Item 31 and 32 are a transfer of a malt beverage license to a new location, and then he also wants to add wine. Item 33 is a request for off-sale wine at a specialized boutique. Item 34 and 35 are requests for beer and wine at a new deli that's going to be located downtown. Item 36 is a request that would allow Shenanigans to sell liquor off sale. And items 37 through 46 are all special one-day requests that have met the state law requirements. And I hope that means warm weather is coming.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions for Jamie?
Mr. Chair.
Councillor Starr.
Yes, item 36 with the adding a packaged liquor to an established restaurant. I guess I'm curious if we do that in a number of places. Does it require any separate? I mean, I guess my question should be, what is required with that?
It is allowed. There isn't any requirements that would prohibit that, or state laws that would prohibit that. So it is allowed. There are a lot of restaurants and on-sale places that allow that, and I truly think personally that's probably why we're short on them. So
I guess my concern is that, you know, that you grab a bottle at closing time versus a restaurant that sells a case of wine or has a wine thing, and I know that's not your responsibility, but it's mine. So I'm questioning it. Is the applicant here?
Don Rose.
I didn't see him in that group of.
No, I don't believe he is here.
Okay. You can tell him. Do you want to say something?
Yeah,
Councillor Neitzer.
Yeah, I should mention, I did see this as well, and I did call the owner and talk to him at length about it, and what they intend to do is what many people do, which is simply you go sit down at the restaurant, have a nice meal, maybe you enjoy one of the craft beers, and you'd like to take, you know, one home with you or something like that. They would be allowed to sell you that, or a bottle of wine to take home to enjoy on the weekend. And I was interested to find out that it's very, very common that they do that, but they certainly are not. This would be a very small part of the deal. I mean, they're a restaurant and they're, you know, not that far away from me, not close enough that I have a conflict, but it's a very, very small item. It's not like they're turning into a liquor store and they're going to be selling 12 packs of beers and stuff like that. It's just simply, hey, can I just buy a little, and they have the little, I'm not into the deal, but the little containers or whatever you can buy.
Growlers.
Thank you. You can buy, they would intend to sell a growler that you could take home and enjoy that particular beer.
Perfect.
I would like to add too that there's probably, I can't give you an exact number, but there's probably 5 off the top of my head that can name that similar situations such as this. You know, the Ramcota is one of them. The event center is one of them. I mean, there's several places that have on sale liquor license that have now applied for the off sale. So, not that that helps, but
No, it makes me understand it. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
I would move approval.
Of items 30 through 46?
Correct.
Second, Erickson.
Okay, we have a motion by Rolfing and a second by Erickson to approve items 30 through 46. Any other questions? Councillor Erpenbach.
Jamie, just one more question about item 36 in terms of the comment that you just made kind of threw me. You said that because locations are doing this packaged liquor license, that fewer of those licenses are available across the community. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
And again, that was just my personal perception or personal opinion. We are limited, just like we are with the retail liquor licenses, we're limited with the packaged liquor by our population, and so we're only allowed to issue 104 of them. And I believe in the past, it's never been an issue where we've run out of them. And now to date, we have a waiting list of, probably 17 people waiting for packaged liquor licenses because we have none left.
So does this, by granting this packaged liquor license, does that keep someone else on the waiting list?
Certainly, yes. He applied to be on the waiting list just like those 17 other people did.
Okay,
as well.
so this is one that's coming off the waiting list because it's
Yes.
available.
Yes.
But it's not that he's bumping someone that's
Right.
ahead of him on the waiting. Okay,
He was at the top of the waiting list.
that's much more clear for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I would just confirm the same thing. He had relayed to me he had been on the waiting list for quite a lengthy period of time.
Since the inception of the
And
waiting
he either had to take it or leave it, and so he didn't want to lose his place in line, so he decided to exercise it. And he may end up transferring it to another venue at some point if he decides to open another, you know, some sort of a establishment, but it was take it or he goes to the back of the line. So he's been on the list like everybody else.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 47.
Item 47 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at the southeast corner of West Benson Road and I-29 from the I-1 Light Industrial District to the C4 Commercial Regional District, petition number 7972, 2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
Jason Bieber representing Planning and Building Services. This is an application by Jacob Kwanzi with Lloyd Companies. The owner is B&K Properties, LLC. It is located at the southeast corner of West Benson Road and Interstate 29, just west of the Sanford Sports Complex. It's about 30 acres in size. The purpose of this rezone is the applicant is looking at constructing a future large retail development with roughly 6 lots.
Okay, thank you, Jason. This is a second reading. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Okay, council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Okay, we've had a motion by Councillor Ralphy and a second by Councillor Erpenbach. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 48.
Item 48 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at the southwest corner of East 18th Street and South Darrow Place from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the C3 Commercial Community District, petition number 7973, 2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant here is Brian Kerr. The owner is Makenda LLC. This is located out in the Dolly Farm development, just west of the Sherman-Williams paint store. It's about 2.32 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing a roughly 4-story hotel with 79 rooms.
Thank you. This is a second reading. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this item? Council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Selberg.
Okay, we've had a motion by Rolfing and a second by Councillor Selberg. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 49.
Item 49 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 5600 West University Trail from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the Pedestrian-Oriented Planned Unit Development District, petition number 7975, 2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant and owner here is Jared Smart. This is located west of North Marion Road and south of West 60th Street as part of the University Hills development. It's about 1.09 acres. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing a future multi-tenant commercial strip center.
This is the second reading. Is there anybody that would like to address this item? Okay, Council?
Move to approve, Nitzert.
Second, Rolfing.
Okay, motion made by Councillor Nitzert, second by Councillor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 50.
Item 50 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 3015 South Minnesota Avenue from the C3 Commercial Community District to the C4 Commercial Regional District, petition number 7978, 2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant and owner here is Billion Companies. It's located at 3015 South Minnesota Avenue. It's the existing Kia Billion dealership. It's about 2.26 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at raising the existing Kia building. Then they will be moving the dealership to the now vacant old Lewis space. And then the area that's marked in the red box there, that will be used as motor vehicle parking for the Billion Kia dealership.
Thank you, Jason. This is a second reading. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address this item? Council?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Rolfing.
Okay, the motion was made by Councillor Erickson, seconded by Councillor Rolfing. Roll call vote.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 51.
Item 51 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at the northeast corner of West 12th Street and South Marion Road from the I-1 Light Industrial and C3 Commercial Community Districts to the I-1 Light Industrial and C3 Commercial Community Districts, petition number 7980, 2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant and owner here is also Billion Companies. This is located at the northeast corner of West 12th and North Marion Road. It's roughly 2.65 acres. The purpose of this rezoning is they're looking at moving an existing warehouse building that's on the lot over to their Billion Service Center. And then the rest of those buildings that are existing on the lot will be raised, and there'll be a future gas station at the immediate corner of Marion and 12th Street.
Thank you, Jason. This is the second reading. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address this item? Council?
Move to approve Erickson.
Second, Rolfing.
Okay, motion was made by Councillor Erickson, seconded by Councillor Rolfing. Councillor Rolfing, you got a question?
If you could put that map back up, that oversight overview, that little funny area in the back there, C3 I1. What are they doing? What's going to happen with that?
What they're really doing is, if you look at this this aerial, the second white building to the north, that's going to stay, and they're essentially trading property with them. So the area that's I1 to C3, that'll be part of the Billion Service Center, and then that area that's going from C3 to I1, that'll be where that existing warehouse contractor shop will use for their outdoor storage.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 52.
Item 52 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located east of North Westport Avenue and south of West 54th Street North from the AG Agricultural District to the S2 Institutional Campus Planned Unit Development District. Petition number 7981, 2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant and owner here is Austin Parks with Sanford Health. This is located just north of the existing Sanford Sports Complex. It's roughly 20 acres in size, and the purpose of this is they're getting a part of the Sanford Sports Complex, and there'll be some future sports development up there.
Thank you. This is a second reading. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address this item? Council?
Move approval. Rolfing.
Second, Erickson.
Motion was made by Councillor Ralphy, seconded by Councillor Erickson.
Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Starr.
More of a comment, I think, on this one is kind of interesting. I think this land sale and transfer was what allowed us to finance the archive building that the library is building. So just a little tidbit of useful information that this sale really funded that building getting started.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 53.
Item 53 is the second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 30, City Council, Subchapter Organization and Procedure, by adding subsection B to section 30.029 to require delivery of any notices of intent to sue to the City Council.
Councillor Starr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As this is the second reading, like most things government, I've found out that something simple as a one-sentence amendment turns into a lot of discussion and a lot of things, which is the way it should be. What I was attempting to do when I brought this forward was to provide a way for the City Council to be informed anytime that the city receives an intent to be sued. It allows us to know a little bit more about what's going on in government. It is a public document, or it is a public document when the city receives these notices. And if you would allow me, Mr. Chair, I'd like to go through a couple of concerns that I've received and kind of address that. Would you like me to do that before public input, or I think it would be helpful to do it before public input, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we'll
as part of the introduction.
We'll go to the public first, and then we'll make some motions, and then we can come back to you, Councillor Starr.
Awesome, thank you.
Since this is a second reading, is there anybody that would like to address this item? Okay, seeing none, then we'll...
Well, I would start with the motion to approve.
Okay, motion has been made by Councillor Starr to approve.
Second.
And seconded by Councillor Staley. Okay, Councillor.
Yes, I will also have an amendment that I'll offer here in a minute, but I wanted to go through a couple of these concerns just because I thought they were relevant and well-timed. One of them talks about state law, or the state statute 3-21, that potential claim notices be sent to the mayor or finance director of the municipality. In my proposed ordinance, what I included was that the city attorney's office would be the one to notify the council within 7 days of receipt. I'm not real hung up one way or the other, but it seems in a municipality our size that it would make the most sense that that correspondence would come from the city attorney's office rather than the mayor or the finance director. In a smaller community, it makes sense because there isn't a full-time attorney's office or staff to do that, and the finance director is, in many municipalities across South Dakota, is the only full-time or the full-time office employee. So again, to me, not much of a concern, but if it's something that you would rather see that as a group come from some other place than the city attorney's office, that'd definitely be a friendly amendment if that change wanted to be made. One of the other concerns, and it came up in first reading as well, is that these are just potential claims, and that there is there's a difference between things that are deemed public records and mandating disclosure of public records, and that to me it is a concern that's not warranted very much, because once it's a public document, it's always disturbing that sometimes people, to me, it's disturbing that people would be concerned that we would make public documents public. And yes, it is only a potential for a lawsuit, but allows us to know when we deal with constituents that there is a lawsuit being considered, there are lawyers involved. And on one side of the concerns that we get is that we may disclose something, or as a council, that we shouldn't be discussing. My point is that if we don't know about it, we may be having discussions that we're not able to say, hey, this has already gone to legal, it's already gone to the assurance fund, it's already gone down the road that we should be aware of. And this allows us to know that a constituent concern or something that's come to us is already being considered by the city attorney's office. It may have already gone to the South Dakota Assurance Fund, our insurance carrier, and we get a chance to know that in advance. And to me, it's the opposite concern that we should have, is that we don't know what's going on, rather than now we know and we could do something that would put the city in an untenable position. The other thing is that there were some concerns about notices to eliminate the elected officials' deniability when voting on legislation that may pertain to a potential claim. The example that they used is if we receive a notice about a slip and fall case and there was corresponding legislation pending before us regarding repairs of sidewalk, would we think about the potential lawsuits while voting? Again, more knowledge is better than less knowledge of knowing what's going on, is my opinion in this as well. So, like I said, I think it's a simple amendment, or a simple ordinance change that allows us to get notice of what's going on. And I'd answer questions if anyone had them, and then I'll offer an amendment here.
Councillor, do you want to read your specific amendment into the record?
Yes, I'd be.
Have a motion before we do that.
We already have done
a
that.
motion in a second.
Yeah, I said.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. I would move to amend by adding, and any lawsuit filed in circuit court against the city of Sioux Falls at the end of the subsection B.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, that motion was made by Councillor Starr, seconded by Councillor Staley. Discussion?
You would. It was one of the things that came up at first reading, that we're getting notice of a potential to sue. Why wouldn't we get notice of when a lawsuit was brought against the city? And my argument is the same, that more information that is public information and record, it allows us as a council to know what's going on, and it makes sense for us to have that we wouldn't be involved, and it would be less likely for us to say something inappropriate, having more knowledge rather than less.
Any further discussion on Councillor Starr's proposed amendment? Councillor Selbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on this one. I mean, it's in some ways you looked at it and went, well, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But then when you kind of looked into some things, it could, as we said before, open a couple of cans of worms that may or may not be there now. But I appreciate the fact Councillor Starr did his due diligence on this. I know he kept me in the loop throughout all of it. If I had questions, he answered them, and he kind of addressed my concerns. So as I sit on the fence, I'll probably lean towards giving my vote tonight.
Councillor Rolfing.
I had some questions last week, and I kind of whispered to one of our city attorneys, Ryan Sage, and he rolled back to me. I don't know if this was passed on to any of you, but he said, with respect to the comments at council meeting on February 20th, 2018 regarding meddling in confidential information, many of these cases are turned over to our insurance carrier, South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. When the lawsuit is turned over, the city is required to disengage in the settlement of the case, and the city has an obligation to allow our insurance carrier to handle the case and not to interfere. I think that's one of the main reasons that we do not have this tell everybody and make it get this information out as to us, so that we there's never a disclaimer that says stay away from this one or don't talk to anybody on this one, because we all know that people talk. And so I think it's most important that we make this. This puts many of us in jeopardy and jeopardizing what the court might rule if one of us legally obligates the city of Sioux Falls. So I'm not in favor of the amendment or the motion.
Councillor Erpenbach.
Thank you, and I applaud Councillor Starr as well for going after this and thinking it through. My question, not a question, but would you remind us because I think the confusion here is in that idea of the notice to sue. I'm thinking about suing you because I fell on your sidewalk, right? And I have a certain period of time to decide. Remind me how long that period of time is. From the time I say, I'm thinking about suing the city until I better get my paperwork in order. How long is that? Do you remember? Or
Mr. Chair, if I could, I always get in trouble when I play junior lawyer, but or wannabe lawyer, so I wouldn't mind deferring to the city attorney.
I'm sorry, your question?
The amount of time between the time when a person files that notice of intent to sue, that from that day until the time that they have to file a suit.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that time period is.
I'm sorry, if you may, it's 180 days.
It is 180. I
It's
thought it was
180
quite a
days
long
that they
time.
need to file an intent to sue, which just protects the person's rights.
Right.
In a situation, I have a constituent that came to me with some concerns about a issue with the city, and I met with them and they told me their situation. And once I contacted the city attorney's office, they were able to tell me that, hey, that's been turned over to the South Dakota Assurance Fund. You need to back away. I felt obligated, or you have a constituent that you want to help and you want to get them more information. I had no idea that it was already that far along in the process and that they may be retaining counsel. It may be there. And again, that's kind of what started me down this path was no knowledge is worse than having the knowledge of what's going on. So 180 days to answer your
Right,
question.
and I don't, if I might, Mr. Chair, I don't disagree with you, Councillor Starr. I think that there's some real value in this. I just would remind us as council members, and then if we go ahead and pass this, that the city attorney's office is going to be really diligent about reminding council members that there is a difference between intent to sue, I'm thinking about suing, and the actual filing the suit in court. There's a huge difference there, and I would be just my concern that we not, I don't know how to say it without sounding prudish, but we not blow this up. If it were something where someone is considering it, but they haven't filed suit, that we don't make it a big deal, but we just know. I understand what you're saying. I think it's part of the training, but I think that I'm just trying to remind us as a group that we're professionals, that we understand how this works. And if we know that that's what's happening with it, we just know. And there's nothing wrong with knowing and having it out in the public conversation, but just so that we don't go crazy over the ones that aren't actual suits yet. That's all. That's your can of worms, Councillor Selberg. It's the things that aren't really suits yet that we turn into mountains, right?
Okay.
So that's my thing.
Councillor Neitzer.
I guess I have a comment and then a question. I guess my comment is on the one hand, it's a transparency amendment, so there's some value in that. On the other hand, I kind of just keep going to, okay, I get a notice of intent to sue or even a lawsuit to tell the truth, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. I don't know what, as a policymaker, where that gives me, any necessarily extra information, except for maybe what Councillor Starr had said. If somebody approached me, I would already know that maybe litigation was starting or was being contemplated, and I might want to defer. So I guess I could see that. But so that's actually a pretty good point. Do we know if a lawsuit is turned over to the Public Assurance Alliance? Because apparently it's a public record when it's, when at some point does it then, I don't know how to say this, become not a public record? I mean, is it possible we have we then are privy to information that we at some point shouldn't be, and then we could share something we weren't supposed to? Would the city attorney have any knowledge of that?
Sure, I think that's the concern, is that there's information that you as a council might have that isn't public information yet. And, like one of the other councilors said, it would certainly need to be some training as to what you could disclose and not disclose. But that is a concern, because you have to be disengaged from that kind of lawsuit, that kind of information that isn't public yet. And with your question about turning it over to the pool, you would get that information from us if you requested it, whether it had been turned over to the pool or not. And the majority of the time, those lawsuits are turned over to the pool.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion or questions? Councillor Staley?
It was my understanding at some point that this was information that was already there that isn't always coming to us, so it's out there anyway. So I'm not understanding where the problem is that we know about it if it's already public information. I don't know why that would be a problem. And I will tell for the public to know that we are barraged with information on the council. There are many things we're sorting through. In fact, people running for the council, when they come on board, I will take them aside and say, let me help you understand the things that you need to prioritize, because it's so overwhelming just dealing with that information. And we're part-time, so to be digging through all these records and could be a full-time plus overtime job. So anything that's going to help us be able to know what's going on, and if it's public record anyway, and they're just putting it on a highway to our minds, I think is bravo, Councillor Starr.
Okay, and then if I may make a comment, and I would agree that with this amendment, by the time it was delivered to us from the city's attorney's office, it would have already been public information anyway. So the concern about us potentially mishandling that information, I think is already there if we just simply inquire. I can see the benefit of the notification from the standpoint that now that we know that there is an intent or that there is an actual lawsuit filed, that if we are approached by a party involved, we know enough not to speak to that party. And that exact thing happened to me my first year on the council, where the individual, and I'm not going to mention the case, but the individual started talking to me about one of their cases. He was not aware that I was on the council. I informed him I was, and that I could not speak to him about that situation. Now, in that case, fortunately, I was aware of it. So I can see the benefit of this proposal, and for that reason, my intention is support both the amendment as well as the amended main motion. Any other further discussion on the proposed amendment? Okay, a roll call vote first, then, on the proposed amendment.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
No.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
That passes 7-1. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, now a roll call vote on the amended main motion.
Councilmember Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
No.
Selberg,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
That passes 7-1. Item number 54.
Item number 54 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 13th, 2018 at 7 p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota declaring certain real property of the city surplus and approving an offer to purchase.
Director.
Good afternoon, City Council, or excuse me, good evening, City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Rec. This item is related to our most recent discussion we had about the sale and redevelopment of the property located at 600 East 7th Street, formerly known as East Side Fire Station, and our Parks and Rec office is there for a while. If you remember, as part of that presentation, we did talk about the sale and redevelopment as a result of that RFP process. So the ordinance before you would essentially declare that property surplus, and that it would also approve the offer to purchase from Bedrock Development LLC and authorize the mayor to sign appropriate documents and transfer and convey that property to Bedrock. Within that next agenda item following this one, I can provide you some more details on the terms and conditions of that actual redevelopment agreement. Any questions on the actual ordinance?
Council, any questions for Director Kearney? May I have a motion to set the date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 13th at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Second, Erickson.
Okay, motion was made by Councillor Rolfing, seconded by Councillor Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 55.
Item number 55 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 13th, 2018 at 7 p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota authorizing the mayor to enter into a development agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Bedrock Development, LLC, along with other documents, amendments, or other instruments as may be deemed necessary and appropriate consistent with the development agreement.
Thank you again. Again, this would authorize the mayor to enter into the development agreement with Bedrock Development. The members of that LLC include Todd and Sarah Stone, as well as Jason and Jennifer Erickson. And just to highlight a few key terms and conditions of this development agreement that we reviewed on the 20th at your informational. Just a reminder that the purchase price is $211,500. That represents 90% of the appraised value of this property as required by state law. A design of the building renovations must comply with the renderings attached to the agreement. The development must be completed within 18 months of the effective date and must commence by July 1st of 2018. And I would just close by reminding everybody that this property has been rezoned to live work. So any future use of this property must be in compliance, and any change would require approval of a rezoning by the City Council, so you'll ultimately have approval of what that building is used for down the road. So be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Director. Any questions? Councillor Nitzert.
It seems to me that the Board of Historic Preservation may have already taken a look at this. Did that happen, and did they give a thumbs up?
I'm not sure if they have yet or not. I don't know if you know Todd Stone with Stone Group Architects and part of Bedrock Development.
Like Don said.
Could
Todd
you introduce
Stone.
yourself, please?
Yeah, Todd Stone with Stone Group Architects. To answer your question, sir, we're diligently working with both the state and the national. It is a process, and it won't officially be done until after we occupy and finish the project.
Okay.
So,
very good. Thanks.
Councillor Erickson.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I just want to state for the record that Jason and Jennifer Erickson, while I share a same last name, there's no relationship distantly or close. I just want to make sure it's known that there's no interest in this. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, March 13th at 7 p.m.?
So moved, Erickson.
Second, Nitzert.
Okay, motion's been made by Councillor Erickson, seconded by Councillor Nitzert. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert? Yes. Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 56.
Item 56 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Dalco addition.
Jason Bieber again with Planning and Building Services. The applicant and owner here is David Lawrence. This is located south of East 57th Street and west of Highway 11, just to the west of Frankman Motors. It's about 14.28 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning, or excuse me, preliminary plan is they're looking at constructing light industrial development with roughly 8 lots.
Okay, thank you, Jason. This is a resolution, so if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item, you're welcome to do so. Okay, Council?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Rolfing.
Okay, motion's been made by Councillor Erickson, seconded by Councillor Rolfing. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 57.
Item 57 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of North Ridge addition.
The applicant and owner, or excuse me, the applicant is Aaron Norman with GGR. The owner is Matt Kissel. It's located south of West 34th Street North and west of North Career Avenue. It's about 4.28 acres in size. The purpose of this preliminary plan is they're looking at constructing a single-family residential development with roughly 18 lots on it.
Okay, this is once again a resolution, so if there's anybody in the audience that would like to address this item, you're welcome to do so. Okay, Council?
Move to approve, Nitzert.
Second, Selberg.
Okay, motion is made by Councillor Nitzert, seconded by Councillor Selberg. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
That passes 8-0. Item number 58.
Item 58 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls and Great Bear Recreation Park Incorporated for the management of the Great Bear Recreation Park, Great Bear, including an alpine skiing facility, Great Bear Lodge, and all other Great Bear facilities.
Welcome.
Good evening, City Council. Kelby Maris with Parks and Recreation. This resolution would allow us to enter into a proposed 5-year agreement with Great Bear Recreation Park Incorporated, who is the current manager of Great Bear Recreation Park. Their current agreement expires at April 30th of 2018, and we are proposing a new 5-year agreement. Just some quick history about the park. The park is city-owned since 1948. Ski operation started there in the 1960s and was privately run until 1991, when Ski Sioux Falls was formed and took over the operation of the ski area. And Ski Sioux Falls then became Great Bear Recreation Park Incorporated in 1997, when they led a capital campaign to expand the ski area and the chalet out at Great Bear. Some of the responsibilities that Great Bear has within this agreement is to operate and promote a year-round recreational facility. As we all know, Great Bear serves as a winter sports staple for our community, but this is a year-round management agreement. We do collaborate on snowmaking and other winter sports activities. They are to sell lift tickets, responsible for equipment rentals, provide lessons and concessions. And they also provide insurance for the area and to market the park and its amenities. Attendance has grown from about 10,000 visits in 1992 to more than 33,000 last year during a shortened season. In 2018, over President's Day weekend, attendance was more than 4,700 for that one weekend. Contributions to the city to improve the area have included expansion of the chalet, expansion of the tubing hill, terrain park, hiking trails, and a tube storage building. City does have responsibilities within this agreement. We are responsible for facility maintenance, capital equipment repair and replacement. We collaborate on the snowmaking, as I mentioned earlier. We also collaborate on the grooming of cross-country ski trails. City is responsible for the grounds maintenance within the park, the mowing, the trail maintenance, prairie restoration, parking lot maintenance, including snow removal. The park board does set fees for lift tickets and facility rentals as part of this agreement. Some other important items to note: that Great Bear Recreation Park Incorporated is a nonprofit organization. There is no management fee associated with this agreement. All the profits are reinvested into the park. The board of directors are all volunteers. It is a 5-year agreement with an option to extend for another 5. The relationship that we currently have with Great Bear does not change. It remains consistent within this agreement. And the park board did unanimously recommend this agreement. And I do have Dan Grader and Steve Sanford from Great Bear with me today, and we would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kelby. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Welcome.
Hey, Bruce Danielson. I've sat through several meetings with the Parks Board as this thing has been discussed, and kind of watched the other RFQs and RFPs that have been done through the city. And there's this big production number happening in town lately that everything has to be a secret RFP or RFQ committee before we do these types of things. We've got a pavilion that doesn't go through the process. And then now we're going to be doing Great Bear. And, I appreciate what Great Bear is doing. It's beautiful out there. And there's a few changes I'd like to see made, but everybody does. But still, why doesn't this contract go through the same process that you're trying to put all the other contracts through? And so that's the only question I have is, we're buying lots of equipment for out there. We don't seem to have much say in any part of it. And why don't we have an RFQ and RFP process for this? Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to address this item? City Council. Councillor Neitzer.
I do have a comment and a question, but I think that was a fair enough question. I think they're doing a good job, so I don't know that we need to. But when was the last time an RFP was done at that facility, or an RFQ?
To my knowledge, we have never done an RFP for this management agreement.
Okay. And then I just wanted to say I wanted to thank you and the rest of the staff for answering the questions I had. And one of the things that I was encouraged by in the contract, one of the things I had kind of an issue with, really the linchpin in the golf contract, was who owned the equipment. And in this case, we do own the equipment, and I would point out that any future purchase of a snowcat groomer will come to us first for approval. And so and I don't mean that flippantly. I mean, those are big purchases, and we should see those. So I'm glad that we'll still see those on the consent agenda, whether it be snowcat groomers or anything else. So I do support this.
Mr. Chair.
Councillor Starr.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Maris, I guess one of my questions is about the size of the board of directors as part of the contract for Great Bear Management, because I know with the Washington Pavilion we have city staff that are members of their board and things, and it stood out to me that it was a 5-member board. And I guess, is there anyone from the city that serves on that board?
Yes, there is. I sit on that board right now for the city.
Oh, okay, thank you. That answers that part of it. It seemed the size was kind of small, which probably allows you to get things done in a relatively quicker manner than when you have a larger board. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Staley.
Kelby, I wanted to just get a little timeline clarified. 1960 is when it was started, correct? You had that slide up there.
That's when the ski area began, yes.
Right, and then in 91 is when the city bought it? Took over ownership?
No, ma'am. The city has owned the property since 1948, but the ski area was run privately until 1991.
That's what I was talking about, was the ski aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And so I guess, and maybe Director Don Kearney can answer this, but I know Councillor Erickson brought this up about the RFP when you presented it before at the informational, that you didn't have a chance to really talk too much on, or maybe it was you who was up there. last week. But why don't we have that RFP thing going on? I mean, when I look at what we did with the golf course and that management who had been the original entity, and then we did the RFP, why not do it with this? And do we need to do an audit of it? Because I think there was an audit that recommended we needed to be looking at this golf course situation.
Right, that was an internal audit. As we have discussed this management agreement, with Great Bear being a nonprofit and all of the proceeds going back into the park, it's different than when the golf course contract was with a for-profit business. They're there to generate a profit for their company. Great Bear is there the profits that they generate only improve the park. While we still have some responsibilities within the park, we don't pay them anything. They do this. The revenues all go back into the park, go back into the operating fund, and then fund improvements within the park and the operation.
Well, and it seemed like the golf course, had some deficits, and they weren't making the profit that they had before, so that was part of the scrutiny. And I'm not recalling, does Great Bear sustain itself? I mean, is the revenue they're bringing in enough to maintain salaries and?
Yeah, I guess I can let Dan or Steve speak to that.
I'm Steve Sanford. I'm president of the board of directors of the manager. We have been able to sustain a positive cash flow at Great Bear from the time we started in 1991 until now. There have been a couple of close calls where we basically sort of broke even, but most of the time we make a modest amount of cash flow. If we made a huge amount, from our point of view, that tells us we're charging the public too much. Part of the advantage of having a nonprofit entity run this, who gets nothing out of it, is that we can maintain affordability. We have a chart we could show you comparing rates at Great Bear to all other rates around the Midwest, and I guarantee you we're a bargain. We have only 2 full-time employees. We operate largely with seasonal part-time work. We've actually become, I don't want to be too self-laudatory, but we've been pretty good in managing our variable costs so that we can respond to changing weather conditions and be fairly nimble about how we operate. Just one point about the size of the board. We're 11 members, not 5. Also, the idea of RFP is interesting and obviously timely, but here's the point. If you do an RFP and if you get somebody to bid on it, you won't, but if you could, they say, okay, we'll split the profit with you 50%. We get 50% and you get 50%. All right? What just happened? What just happened? The city lost $50,000 on a $100,000 profit because you get it all now. And we don't have a possessory interest in this. We don't have a stake and a wannabe in this area. We're just simply doing it because in 1991 we were asked to do it. And I promised Mayor White when I talked him into buying the chairlift and the chalet that we'll run it for as long as it takes for you to become comfortable with it, and we'll leave when you don't want us. All right? And that's been the understanding since 1991. And we're ready to walk away if you don't want us. I would be very surprised if you would find a for-profit entity to do anything but laugh at the idea of an RFP, because at this latitude and altitude, the for-profit idea in the ski business doesn't work. And it won't work here, but you don't have to take my word for it. You can try it. But we'll do it if you want us to.
Well, and if I could just, if we go through with the contract, of course, we don't have to think about that for 5 years, because it's a done, you know, there's no RFP right now. But you're talking about this is basically held its own, and we're talking then about the operational costs, right? Not the capital costs are being funded by the city. Am I hearing that right? Like buying that snowcat groomer for $300,000.
Yeah, but buying the piston bully, the city paid for that.
The tangible things are handled by the city.
Sure.
So your operational, we're talking, is coming out of the fees that are generated, correct?
Sure. I mean, we buy some personal property ourselves. We buy the rental equipment, our own computer operation, furniture, other things. But the big ticket items, I mean, belong to the city and are the city's responsibility. Now, when we redid the tubing hill, the city paid for only half that because we raised half the money. When we redid the chalet back in the late 90s, the city paid for only half of that because we raised the money to pay for the other half. And because we're a nonprofit entity, we're not a 501c3, but we go through the Sioux Falls Area Community Foundation. And so, yes, you do have to maintain those things, but have supplied the revenue, the cost of a substantial portion, probably somewhere between $2 and $3 million total that we have raised for the benefit of the city.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for anybody involved? Councillor Erpenbach.
Not a question, Steve or Dan, but just a comment. And this is going to sound biased, but this is one of those community activities in Sioux Falls that is affordable for most families. And in a lot of cases, there are ways that we've worked around that so that those families who maybe can't afford the fees are able to ski and to tube and to, hiking in the summer, all those kinds of things. I think that we have to pay attention to the value that this service provides for this community and for the young people of this community. And this, I'm speaking as a mom of a kid who learned to ski really well there and has made his professional career out of skiing. He's a bum in the mountains, but he loves it, man. And, it's because of Great Bear and it's because of your commitment to this kind of community service that those folks that are interested in that, whether they ski or they tube or they snowboard or whatever, this is a huge service to this community, and it is a deal. We're getting a deal on this, and we need to support this contract and move on.
Well, it's our privilege, all right?
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Stephen. And I would just like to echo what Councillor Erpenbach stated. I mean, Stephen's comment about if we had a lot of money left over, then it tells us that we're charging the public too much. That tells us the type of service that we were getting, and I thank you for that service as well. And before I seek a motion, Kelby, you took about 5 times the amount of time you had last Tuesday, and you did a great job, and it was a great discussion tonight because we had very little time during the informational last Tuesday. For that, I apologize, but I thank you for your efforts and information this evening. May I have a motion on this item, please?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Erickson.
Okay, the motion has been made by Councillor Erpenbach, seconded by Council Vice Chair Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Item number 59.
Item 59 is a report of the February 28, 2018 Notice of Transfer of Appropriations within major organizational units.
Well, is there any new business for this evening?
Move adjournment.
Second, Erpenbach.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You may stay here. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. I'm a